Professor Deodhar, Professor Bapat, Professor Ghosh, Shri Mahantaji. I don't see the president, but he welcomed us and disappeared. So, but certainly I would like to greet him, Shri Ritesh Hadaji, on whose initiative we are all here on this very important occasion to release or launch what is called the Chhatra Niti Aayog at Karnataka University today. When I got the invitation to come here, it was written Hindi as well as English, Chhatra Niti Aayog. I was wondering what exactly is happening. It did not sound any bells in my mind. It's only when I realized and read the script, I realized that there was a very, very major initiative being taken to bring the youth power into the policy making process. And then I was reminded of our Honorable Prime Minister, who has been mentioning that we are now on the journey for making our country from a developing nation to the developed nation, with the participation of the youth of this nation. He never mentioned about experts, he never mentioned about all the academicians or industrialists. He said with the participation of the youth of our nation. Of course, all of us know that he was very keen that the demographic dividend what we have today in terms of largest youth population should be made use of. But more than the numbers, the creativity, the wide spectrum of thoughts, unbiased opinions, and I think somebody mentioned about vested interest. All of them were not there, and that's why he said that we should look at the youth. So for me, it's a great honor to come here and be part of this major movement which you have started. Often it has been said, when Niti Aayog was formed, there was a lot of debate in Delhi. Planning Commission hota tha, aapne ye Niti Aayog kyun banaya? So in the beginning I didn't have an answer, but when I brooded over it, I said, friends, I'm a guy from science and mathematics background. So I will only say that the two terms planning and Niti, they are like a superset and a set. Niti is a superset and the planning is a set inside that. It was difficult for them to appreciate because they did not realize. They thought everything that you plan, I said, you plan within the framework of a policy. You plan things for achieving a certain objectives. You plan like you have planned this function today. That was the planning. What was the objective? What was the policy framework? We are looking at the policy framework for setting up an institution which will promote the students to be part of the plan of the policy making process. So basically, policy or Niti is a tool which provides guidance, consistency, accountability, efficiency, clarity on how an organization or a people should work in different sectors. This applies to all the nations. It is part of the governance process. So as I mentioned to you, all the policies basically provide the guidelines and the principles which one has to follow. There could be areas where there could be overlap. And I think that is where we all get lost. That's why there are policies which are sector-wise policies. There may be an overlap each other. But the skills which are needed to take care of these overlaps are very important. You should be able to find out successful solutions while taking care of the overlaps. Policy has to be wide spectrum. I think Bapat ji used the word inclusive. You cannot have a policy which is not inclusive. You can't have policy for only a group of people. You cannot have a policy for a group of institutions. You can't have a policy for only a small sector. It has to be across. Bapat ji gave a very, they gave a very nice story about that student who wanted to complete his B.Tech in 1 year. I think Manta ji mentioned. NEP 2020, if you look at it, is basically in that direction. When we were working on NEP 2020, it was our objective basically to see that it does not have a bias towards only meritorious students. It should not have a bias only to look after the students who are below the merit. So it has to be across. And that's why the word came flexibility. The flexibility is that part which allows you to take your credit from one institution to another institution. Today you are in IIM Ahmedabad, you want to go to IIM Indore, you can go. There are no boundaries. That is the way we looked at it. Flexibility. So if somebody wanted to do a course of 5 years in 2 years, he is a super genius, so we have to even cater to the needs of the super genius. But if there's a guy who is not able to complete even 1 year's course in 3 years, well, you have to cater for that also. So the policy becomes a very important tool in terms of what is the kind of a spectrum we have to cover. We have to sometimes cater to many diverse and often contrasting constituencies. And those policymakers who would be able to do this job are called the policy leaders. They can collaborate with diversity, building coalitions and solutions that leverage the best in every community. That is the kind of policy we are looking at. Friends, taking from what our Honorable Prime Minister has said, the youth which is present here has to make a major difference in the changing landscape of the world. World has changed and continues to change at an incredibly rapid rate. And change has connected the world across borders of all kinds. The 21st century landscape is very much driven by data economy. And all of you know that this is the age of information and knowledge. Why I'm talking of data economy? Because when you do the policy formulation, one of the basic inputs that go, and I have eminent economists and professors here, that goes into making the policy is the source of data on any subject. If you are making a policy on health, you have to get what is the data on health of all the people. When we were talking about, when Honorable Prime Minister said we talk about health for all, then the statistics were taken, how many people are in the rural areas, how many are in the urban areas, how many are suffering from malnutrition, how many pregnant women are not getting nutrition, all the kinds of statistics about health, how many are anemic. And then you have to give a policy to cater to all the needs which have been identified there. For this, information, data, and knowledge is essential. And many times, because the world is now global, we are also part of a global network. So it becomes important that we have to look at not only at our country, but others also. But that does not mean that I have to take everything what the other country is doing and just copy it blindly and say this should also be made applicable to us. I'll give you an example. When we were talking about energy policy, there was a thinking going on that India should switch over to gas-based economy. I think many of you might have written articles on that. You know what was the genesis of that? The genesis of that was that America, who discovered the shale gas suspended the use of all other fuels because it was the most cheap fuel available to them, and they started talking about gas-based economy. Europe, which has no energy resources of their own, are dependent upon the gas coming from Russia and other places. So India also thought, anyway we were importing all our oil, we were importing our gas also. We also thought that we should do gas economy. So when it came to Niti Aayog, I was the only one who says, that's a wrong approach. Because India's resources are not the oil and gas. India's resource is coal. So why are you not exploiting your own coal rather than importing gas all along? And the investment required for doing the gas-based economy would be running into the region of 2 to 3 lakhs crore in terms of LNG terminals, shipping facility, gas pipelines, and perennial import of the gas all the time, because our gas resources are very, very minimal. Now that is where I am telling you, a globally networked system can sometimes mislead you if you don't look at what is valid for your own country. What is valid for your country is that we are a tropical nation. We have plenty of sun. We have plenty of wind available. We have plenty of coal available. So why not we make our energy transition strategy or policy for that, which has a mix of all this, rather than saying that gas-based economy should be pursued by India. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. The data, the knowledge, the information becomes very, very important when you take decisions. And you have to learn to analyze that. Many times, if you are not very adept in doing the data analysis, many of you must be doing courses now on data mining, data analysis, and doing a lot of statistical operations to find some conclusions out of it. And now the new term which is coming in all along is the artificial intelligence, which will help you in making your decision process. All this is going to make a lot of difference, and those will be inputs. So when you as a student will try to make policies part of this, I think the technologies which are available today for making the conclusions also have to be mastered by you. So don't think that what you are going to study in your classroom is going to be wasted, it is not required for making the policy. In fact, I want to tell you one thing. People always say, Niti Aayog, you are a scientist, so always you talk about science. I am yet to find a discipline in our life where there is no element of science. Science and technology are the bedrock for each and every system what we have in the country. विज्ञान and ज्ञान, जैसा कि सर ने बोला, ये दोनों साथ साथ चलते हैं. विज्ञान और ज्ञान को जब तक आप साथ नहीं चलाएंगे तो आप कहीं नहीं पहुंच सकते. तो इसलिए साइंस को आपको उसके साथ रखना पड़ेगा, पॉलिसी के साथ रखना पड़ेगा. अनफॉर्चुनेटली क्या होता है, and this is what the trend is there in our country today, that when the policies are made on any subject, the least contacted people are the scientists and the technologists. The people who are contacted are the economists and administrators. There's nothing I do not want to say that they are not capable or not capable, but the point remains that the basic element of science, which is required for the growth of the nation, if it is not factored into and the decisions are not made based upon the scientific inputs, तो वो नीति जो होगी वो अवैज्ञानिक होगी, और अवैज्ञानिक चीज जो है सस्टेन नहीं करती है. सस्टेनेंस के लिए हमें वैज्ञानिक हेल्प चाहिए. हमेशा यही बात मैं हमेशा कहता रहा हूँ कि this has to be one of the major part of our decision making process. Young people have always been at the forefront of advocacy movements for decades. Their passion and idealism have galvanized millions of people in the past, and they are even today doing. Their energy has to be channelized in a way that they can lead the concrete public policy change. They should be able to do that. So whatever field we want to progress in, whether it is science and technology or sports or participation of youth, is essential. And in that direction, I think Chhatra Niti Aayog is a major good step. It is up to us how to help the youth in playing the role properly. Many times we have been saying that youth participation, youth participation. I think this is not one word today I'm hearing. When I was a student also, I said youth participation. और सर ने बोला कि यूथ क्या है, वो तो उनको कुछ डायरेक्शन नहीं है, वो तो अपना समय बिता रहे हैं. नहीं, youth participation is not a word, it is not a sentence. If you really mean youth participation, you have to enable youth participation. If you do not create a framework, if you do not create a platform for the participation of the youth, I don't think we are doing the right thing. And by doing this Chhatra Niti Aayog, Karnataka University has created the platform where really the students of this university and others probably will participate in the policy making process. We will be able to make them aware the power and the role that they have in building our nation. By doing this, they will be able to get that direction. Now, what should the youth do? That's also very important. The philosophy of the young people must comprise design thinking. Now, how do you make policy? Don't think policy is again devoid from scientific thing. You must be thinking you have designed a car or a trolley or a rocket or whatever that. But the whole process is design thinking. And design thinking is not just the products what you are thinking. Design thinking is an integral part of everything that you do in your life. It is an active process that strives for continuous reinvention and consistently challenging the existing things in a way ahead in an ongoing evolution. So when you are talking about policy, design thinking has to be an integral part of that. And design thinking is associated with creativity. Creatively, you have to look at the daily life, not only in a technocratic condition or a tradition, but also in terms of enhancing the daily lives of the people. You have to look at that. Design can be in any core. It can be in painting, it can be in art, it can be in economics. Everywhere design thinking is there. So when you design policies, it becomes important that you become the part, it should be design thinking. Another thing that would be needed, that when you test the validity of the policy, you will have to do what is called trials. If I make a policy, I should not simply implement it without doing a pilot. For doing the pilot, you need other skills. And what are those skills? Project management skills. The skills by which you will be able to carry out a small prototype or a small scheme you can run. I'll give you an example. We were making the policy on doubling the farmers' income, which was one of the idea which was given by our Honorable Prime Minister. We should double the farmers' income. I was a scientist, so I said we should go into precision farming. Now, when I looked at precision farming, I don't know how many of you have learned this word. Precision farming is where you use modern technology like drones, nano fertilizers, nano irrigation, micro irrigation, and variety of things, mostly scientific in nature, mostly technologically driven. Then when we are presenting it to this, Honorable Prime Minister said, Saraswat ji, आप कभी गांव में गए हैं? हमारे देश में ज़्यादातर फार्मर्स के पास 1 एकड़ या 2 एकड़ से कम ज़मीन है. उनके पास हल भी कई बार नहीं होता है, वो मांग के लाते हैं अपना जो चीज़. आप ये जो चीज़ें बोल रहे हैं प्रिसीजन फार्मिंग के लिए, ये हमारे देश के लिए वैलिड है या नहीं, आपने इसके बारे में सोचा नहीं. क्योंकि प्रिसीजन फार्मिंग इज बीइंग डन in America, is being done in Israel, is being done in other countries, you think that we will be able to promote that. He said that you should give a policy which will cover the small farmers and the large farmers at the same time. So it changed the direction altogether. We had to say that yes, precision farming should be done on certain locations, and we also identify various means and policies by which we can take care of the small farmers. And that is where the word came, natural farming and things like that, which can be made use of using the biomass, and then you make a fertilizer out of that, or maybe the natural pesticides which can come from neem and things like that. So the entire scope of the agriculture policy gets modified. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's where we need to introduce good management skills, good project management skill. And this will also help tomorrow, I think somebody used the word entrepreneurs, that create design thinking, management skills, project management skills will certainly help you to be a better innovator. You will be able to part of the innovation process what we have for the society today. Another important part I would like to mention here is the point that today we are not worried about just the comforts which we have enjoyed so far. All our technology, all our policies have actually driven towards maximizing the comfort level to our society. Gone are the days now. We have seen the kind of adverse impact these technologies have on the planet Earth, on the environment. All of us know that today. So if I have to now make a policy, it has to be taking care of the sustainability. What is sustainability? It has three pillars: environment, social, economic. I cannot say that economic growth I will do without bothering about environment. Or I will do social growth, making everybody air conditioned, beautiful cars, beautiful this thing, that thing, without bothering about the environment. So it becomes important that when you look at the policy making process, it should be consistent with the pillars of the sustainability. While certainly we are doing for improving the quality of life, now the word quality of life is also important. Mr. Bapat mentioned that we have policies which were driven from the communist regime. And probably we have now swung our pendulum towards policies which are driven from the capitalistic regime. Communist regime was not allowing our GDP to go beyond 2%, 3%. After 92, when we have done the opening of the market, our GDP has started growing, and today we are growing at a rate of 6 to 8% on an average. And we find our per capita income has also improved. But then quality of life has improved, no doubt about it. Entrepreneurs are many. So many, almost a lakh of startup companies today. Almost 117 unicorns. So the entire thing has transformed. But the impact of all this, we are not seeing it on environment. We are not seeing it on the social fabric. The inclusiveness which we are looking at, the divide between the have and have-nots has not bridged. It continues to grow. If it has continued to grow, then our policy has got some problem. So I have to pilot any policy before I actually take it somewhere. So sustainability, when you are looking at, the major thing that would have to be done is circularizing your economy. सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी का नाम आपने सुना होगा. आप लोग एक ज़माने में पेन लेते थे. मैं जब अपना एक बॉल पेन करता था तो उसमें एक रिफिल आती थी. 1 रुपये का बॉल पेन आता था, 50 पैसे की या 4 आने की रिफिल आती थी. तो हम पेन को फेंकते नहीं थे, हम उसमें जाके एक रिफिल खरीद कर आते थे, उसको यूज़ करते थे. उसको बोलते थे रीयूज. आज क्या करते हैं, ये पेन में इंक खत्म हुआ, इसको फेंक दिया. ये 50 रुपये का आता है. What does it mean? Quality of life has improved, but consumerism has increased. Consumerism is not the right policy, because if you have too much of consumerism, all the resources what we have for our country today will not be available for the next generation. That means it goes against the sustainability. So it becomes that you have to look at circular economy, repair, reuse, reduce, remanufacture, recycle, recover. So next policy what we are doing, it has to be on those lines. That means we have to change our trajectory from purely what we have been doing today to circularizing the economy. And for doing this, it cannot be done by one individual. Academia, industry, national laboratories, policymakers, all have to work together. Entrepreneurs, everybody has to work together. And it has to work like a music. When you play this veena, what you have given me, you have to have all the swaras in the right sync. Only when that symphony is played, you will be able to make that difference, what is needed for the growth of the country. So friends, that is what I'm going to tell you. It is very immensely difficult task, but it has to be done. So, if the eradication of poverty, health for all, education for all, power for all, digital India, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Jan Dhan Yojana, all of them have to be done. They have to be piloted and they have to tested and checked. And youth must play a major role in this. Youth has to be, as our Honorable Prime Minister says, has to be a transformation leader in India's journey to become a developed nation. And I think this experiment what you are doing will be a part of that. We have the highest population of the youth in the world, what we call as the demographic dividend. And this resource should become the capital, human resource capital of the world. I know a large number of students even today migrate to Canada, Australia, Germany, America and all that. But that is one good thing. But then, for it to become a human resource capital and to be resourceful for my country, there has to be a reverse flow, which is not happening today. If the reverse flow will not take place, then it will be called what we have been telling in the last, brain drain. But brain drain should bring economic development of my country. So the policy should be in that direction. Second thing is customization. I mentioned about the gas policy. What is valid for us? We had a great civilization. People talked of Shukracharya, we talked of Aryabhatta, we talk of health people, we talk of Shiv. I mean, you look at it, our traditions have been huge. So whatever policies we make, we have to actually take a page from our traditions and our past. We had a glorious past. It's only the 1,000 years of, say, Mughal period and the British period that has changed the culture. Otherwise, our economy was running into 35%. We were a सोने की चिड़िया बोलते थे जिसको, which has been completely done that. Now, that सोने की चिड़िया has to come back, not by only aping the policies that is there in the West, but by taking the West policies, putting it as part of our traditional knowledge, traditional wisdom, and then coming up with that as a major thing. So, I am saying that the students and youth will take part in nation building of the guest country in a meaningful way. Friends, you are blessed to be entering an increasingly risk-friendly world today. I would advise you to take full advantage of that. Today, you have the leisure to take right risk and be creative in your careers. So we can talk about policy of various sectors, but what about policy for your self-development? Don't you think that you should have a policy for your self-development also? I think our management experts teach self-development, self-management, isn't it? You teach a course. But in that self-development and self-management, there are certain principles and policies to be followed. Many times, if I tell you that, you will say, sir, उपदेश दे रहे हैं. आप उसको उपदेश की तरह लीजिए, पर उसको आत्मसात कीजिए, तो आपके लिए अच्छा होगा. और अगर आप उसको उपदेश के लिए लेके सुन के यहाँ से निकाल देंगे, तो वो आपको उपदेश ही लगेगा. मैं कुछ चीज़ें आपको बताऊंगा जो मेरे अपने पिछले 50 साल के अनुभव से मैंने प्रैक्टिस की हैं और सीखी हैं. In the early years of your career, you should take on roles that put you outside of your comfort zone. Try to interact with as many new people from various domains as you can. This will encourage you to visualize situations from different angles. And this will consequently lead to nation building, as you, the youth brigade, are the country's biggest asset. For you to become a transformation leader, there are certain things that has to be done. One is the ethics in conflict management and for progress in career. Faith in teams and organizations. Build capability and capacities to be talented, sublime leader and not an arrogant leader. Challenge yourself until you achieve the desired truth. Provide equal opportunity to equal merit and enhance work of your colleagues and the organization for which you work. Every work is important and thus do not trivialize details of the work or level of duty. Success lies in comprehensive detailing and implementation. Be strong in your knowledge, but be humble in learning from colleagues, especially in complementary disciplines and domains of knowledge. And the very important point I want to tell you is, occupy a position below your capacity and capability. This shall bring appreciation and more satisfaction as compared to occupying a level higher than your merit and capacity. Generosity is a virtue and practice it in all liberal measures. Envy is a poison, avoid it. Aim to be number one in everything you do. Have an Olympian spirit of competing. Sir ने बोला था, competition is not there. I think the important thing is competitive collaboration. The word is competitive collaboration today. In fact, Niti Aayog ka, one of the major role of Niti Aayog is cooperative federalism. That means we would like to work with the states in a cooperative manner for the growth of the nation. So some of these points are very important, and since our youth are the country's future, their exposure to critical aspect of nation building is exclusively necessary. I'm quite sure that this initiative of Chhatra Niti Aayog will ensure such exposure. In my vision, it is surely the need of the hour. The initiative will enable today's dynamic youths to assimilate the bands and highways of the path for designing critical policies that will come in coming days to decide the nation's future as well as their own. I want to quote something from Swami Vivekananda for you. Swami Vivekananda used to say about belief, self-belief, Atmavishwas, is one of the most powerful tools behind the success of any person. So when you are part of this policy-making process, you should have belief. We should learn from the visionaries of our nation who had long ago enlightened the path to emulate. One of them is Buddha, a prince philosopher, saint and teacher who mentored the professionals in an excellent manner with his advice. We are what we think we are. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. Swami Vivekananda, who said, friends, to quote, all power is within you. You can do anything and everything. Believe in that. Do not believe that you are weak. Do not believe that you are half crazy lunatics, as most of us do nowadays. Stand up and express the divinity within you. He also said, this life is short. The variety in the world is transient. They alone live who live for others. The rest are more dead than alive. So friends, let us all live for the growth of our nation and welfare of our countrymen. I wish each and every one of you that you have a fulfilling career and most importantly, be a part of the nation's policy-making journey. And you become model citizens of this country and take part in the country's historical journey ahead. May God bless you all. Jai Hind. Thank you.